Welcome to Growing People. I'm John Losey. And in the past, I've designed and led leadership programs and came across some pretty great resources that used conductors and classical music as metaphors for what leadership is in teams. And in conducting, it sets up a certain perspective on what that looks like. You have a set plan, you have the sheet music, you have a strong leader, and you have some great performers. Now, all of the people in the orchestra are really good performers, but they rely on the great first seats, first violin, first cello. So you have it set up, much like a lot of our organizations today, with strong leadership, strong plan, sheet music, great performers supported by okay performers. And it really looks like a lot of organizations today, where, if you even looked at their year-end performance discussions, there's not a forced distribution, but it looks like a bell curve with you have some top performers, you have some bottom performers, but the big middle is just, they're good performers. So that's why a conductor and like a book called Maestro, and then some great TED Talks where a guy named Itay Telgum talks about leadership and conducting. And there's great subtleties there. But the thing is, it takes a certain context, which means that there's a pretty static work environment or business environment that's out there. And most of the groups that I work with aren't experiencing a very static environment in their business. Things are changing all the time. So the other day, I was watching the documentary Jazz by Ken Burns, and it struck me that the way that a jazz jam session works is an amazing picture of what teams could be. You see, leadership, there's still usually a leader, somebody organized it, and it takes a strong and confident leader, but those leaders step back and give up some control of what actually is going on. They'll have a discussion before you do a jam session. They'll discuss and they'll say, okay, let's do some 12-bar blues, or let's do this as ragtime. And so that everybody has the same kind of set understanding and context of where they're going with this. But then the music starts, and all of a sudden, individuals step to the front and begin a solo. Everybody else steps back and plays everything that they can to support that solo. Person takes it within the context wherever they want to go, and the team follows that team member. Eventually, that person steps back, somebody else steps up, and the same thing happens. There's this shifting role in who's actually leading the direction of the group, and the person who called the jam session, the leader of that band, gives up that control so that they can all perform at their best. Now, you have good musicians, you have maybe not so good musicians, all in that same jam session. But what happens is when somebody steps up, the rest step in to support. And all of a sudden, they maximize the quality of the entire band's performance each time somebody new steps in. It's pretty spectacular. And I've experienced that. I play guitar. I'm not really a musician, but I've sat in on jam sessions where I played bass, and I was really new to it. And they said, yeah, take a lead. Do a lead on this bass. And I was all I knew was some scales. So I stepped in, I started playing a scale, just a really simple scale. And all these really wonderful musicians filled in behind me. So it sounded amazing, even though I was playing to the best of my ability, even though it was pretty simple. The full quality of the band filled in everything else. What a great picture of what teamwork could be. Now, the reality is, sometimes you need a conductor, sometimes you need a jam session. For me, I would encourage leaders to try and learn both. Learn how to lead like a conductor, and also learn how to lead like a jazz band, like a jazz jam session.